Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to another edition of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I'm your host, James Espinosa. I'm joined by Adin Ducker behind the glass.
What's Gucci with her?
We do have Marroquinn in the building. What's up, Marcos?
What's up, James?
It is a fantastic Sunday morning as always. Episode number 114. We're with you till 11 a.m. Remember, to get into the show, hit us up on the text line or give us a call. 361-882-5397, 361-882-5397. You could also follow us on Twitter if y'all guys are so inclined to do so. We encourage you to interact with us on our Twitter at SportsRush1440. And if you have a Facebook, give us a like. All you got to do is search Sports Rush. You'll find our Facebook page. Give it a like and a follow. All right. Got that business out of the way. Coming up in the first hour at 9:50, we will have some baseball talk because the A's are going to Vegas, baby. And the Rangers are extremely hot, which Marcos is very excited to talk about. We'll do that at 9:50. At 9:30, we dive into the NBA playoffs, including the Lakers' Game 3 victory last night over the Grizzlies. At 9:20, Steven Jackson is talking the biggest crap about the Spurs. He cannot keep the Spurs out of his mouth. We have the latest Steven Jackson audio and some Spurs nuggets to get to you. Also in hour 2, we have a big interview lined up for you guys today. It is Landry Locker of Sportsradio 610 Houston. He's the host of In the Loop up there in Houston, the home of the Texans. And we're going to be talking NFL Draft, Texans, and Astros with Landry Locker at 10:30 a.m. So packed show for you. Glad y'all guys could be with us. Let's have some fun today, gentlemen. And in the first segment, I want to talk local. I want to keep it local with what's happening in Corpus Christi because there are some pretty cool events going down in Corpus this weekend. And yesterday when I was on Twitter, I was just perusing, as I do, mindlessly scrolling from time to time. And the Southland Conference is hosting their beach volleyball tournament here on the beaches of Corpus. They had an awesome video, too. Like, the Southland Conference, their, I guess, media team, their videographer, pretty amazing work right there. So that's going down today. And what makes that pretty cool is that the Islanders women's volleyball team, beach volleyball team, they're in the semifinals. Like, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's going down today. It's going to be happening at 2 o'clock and at 4 p.m. But, of course, I don't know if any of y'all have noticed, if you looked outside, big weather appears to be on its way this morning.
Yeah.
Some huge weather out there. So
severe weather.
We'll see if that comes to fruition. But right now, if you want to, you can head on down to the beach later on, weather permitting, and go check out the Islanders women's beach volleyball team. 2 p.m. semifinals, 4 p.m. championship game.
I mean, the Islanders women should be favored because we live on a beach. We live on the shoreline.
Exactly. There's a beach
what are the other
on the Island University.
I mean, but what are the other schools that are in there right now? I guess New Orleans is kind of on one, maybe, but the other schools, they don't really have one, right?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I guess.
Where would they have to go practice? Like at their Sonic?
Probably the local elementary
the local Sonic
school, like
the
sand pit.
The sandbox.
Yeah.
The sandbox, that's funny. So that's going down. Pretty cool event happening. It made me think about something else here for the Corpus Christi area. If we're able to host the beach volleyball championships, why can't the Southland Conference bring the men's and women's basketball conference tournament down here to the American Bank Center? I mean, Corpus Christi just seems like the ideal spot to host a conference tournament. I'm not saying that we're a destination city, but we are a vacation type city, or at least people do come down here and visit the area, like Port A and, Mustang Island and all that stuff. Like, people do come down here to vacation, and teams from, let's say, like, New Orleans, or name any other Southland Conference team, McNeese or Northwestern State, I'm pretty sure those teams would love to come down here for a weekend to play basketball and then get to do all the activities around the town.
Yeah, a couple years ago it was in Katy, right? And then this past year, or this past couple months ago, it was
in McNeese. McNeese held the men's and women's.
I think the Islanders are the most southernmost school, right? If I recall.
Yes. So to me,
well, would those teams more north be willing to travel that far south?
Why not?
I mean, the American Bank Center is the perfect venue to host.
That's what I'm saying.
it.
The Bank Center's perfect. Who wouldn't want to come down to the beaches of Corpus?
I think it's got to be that or New Orleans itself.
New Orleans would be kind of cool too, but
Yeah.
but for the purposes of this Southland Conference, if you're out there, if you're listening, if this gets to you some way, somehow, please just consider Corpus. We'd be a kick-ass city to have it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind.
Another thing
At all.
that happened yesterday concerning the Islanders is the Islanders men's tennis team won the conference tournament.
Wow.
That actually happened here in Corpus also because they were hosting the conference championships. Telling you, a lot of things are happening in Corpus this winning. So shout out to the Islanders men's tennis team.
I had no idea.
We run the court.
And they're about to have like their finals too, so.
Yeah, we run the courts, kings of the court. So they won it. Adin, I
Yeah.
know you have a story to tell because you got a picture with the World Series trophy yesterday at the HEB Plus. First and foremost,
I did.
how was it, I guess, being there in the presence of the World Series trophy, which the Astros own 2 of them? What was your experience like with the World Series?
Just my whole world got turned upside down,
Nice.
literally,
Nice.
and in a good way.
Was the line packed at
It
all?
wasn't. There wasn't a line at all. There wasn't. They were there for a couple hours. Most of the people there were shopping, of course, but after I left, there was actually a line of like 10 or 12 people that came afterwards. So I got there. Because when I got there was no line.
Is that kind of sad? I mean, is that...
no?
No,
I mean,
it's kind of sad.
That
No
kind
line.
of sounds sad. Like, oh, no one even gave a
Imagine
damn.
the Astros people are like, "Oh, Corpus is gonna love this. We have so many
No,
supporters
there
in
were
Corpus."
Astros
They go to
fans-
the
there were Astros
busiest
fans
place in the
there.
city, which is HEB, and then nobody's there.
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
pretty sure a lot of. I
Or-
don't think a lot of people knew that trophy would be there because I had to look up this information.
No,
you
I
know,
did.
Or-
myself.
Or Spin Zone. Astros fans are used to winning World Series, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
I mean, Marcos. I mean, Rangers fans aren't used to anything related
You said
to a
this
World
3
Series
times
win.
today already.
So, well, I mean, it's my first
to
time
be
saying
fair,
it
it's his
on
first
air,
time
so-
saying it on air.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did they have a rag or something to use to like clean off all the drool that you were getting over it?
Hey, I mean, when you're looking at greatness up front, it looks more beautiful in person than it does on
Really?
TV. Yeah.
It looks shiny. And by the way, it was a good picture. Good picture. Of
I
you.
mean, but like I said, Texas Rangers players have never been that close to that trophy.
They've been one
before.
strike away.
No, but they
Yeah,
actually,
multiple times.
but not in the presence of that. So
I guess technically they have been very close, but so that's what's up. I guess
but yeah, you saw that photo. I was mean mugging a little bit.
you were
know.
mean mugging.
I was like,
361-882-5397.
Hey, I offered real quick, but I offered Marcos. I was like, Marcos, you should have took a picture with it just to see, maybe inspire you and your Rangers.
I think it's a little goofy, personally.
Why? Explain. You were
Like-
telling me off air. Go ahead.
You
Put
didn't
this,
win, like-
put this on air. Put this on air.
The fans didn't win anything. Like, what are you doing taking a picture with the
Hey,
trophy like
I
if you
saw
won
2
it?
games this year. I paid my share.
So, okay, this is another problem that I kind of have with, I guess, championship culture now. And it's not the Astros. They're not the only team that does this. A lot of teams do this now. But does everybody in the organization really need a World Series ring? Or a Super Bowl ring?
I think most
or
of people
an
do.
NBA Finals ring? Like, let's be honest.
I don't think some of the concession stand people there.
It's like, does
do,
Larry, who's
but-
handing out hot dogs, really need
Hey,
a World Series championship
Julia
ring?
Morales deserves the World Series.
But to me,
ring.
do you get what I'm saying? It's just,
I think
you didn't win it.
everybody in the clubhouse, everybody in the front office, everybody that is directly helping the players or indirectly by maybe helping the people that help the players, if that makes sense, they deserve a ring.
Okay, what about-
they do a lot for the players?
What about Susan, who's selling tickets at the ticket office?
I don't think they got World Series rings. I think it was.
I think they give them different rings though. They're not as like souped up as the players and
Hey,
coaching
Jim
rings.
Crane's the owner. He does what he wants with his money.
Look, and I'm not just specifically saying this about the Astros. I'm saying in the culture of championship society recently, that's been a thing where everybody who works for the organization gets a ring. And like Marcos was saying, he's saying that touting around the World Series trophy is a little bit goofy.
It is a little goofy.
I think handing out rings to everybody in the organization who's not directly involved with the team is a little bit goofy also.
Well, Marcos, like I said, I can repeat it for the 4th time. Just y'all aren't used to World Series trophies, man. It's okay. It's okay. Maybe this is y'all's year. Who
Let's
knows?
keep a track of how many times Adin says that today. That's number 4.
We are 2.5. We do have a 2.5 game lead in the AL West.
We will
well,
talk
it
baseball.
is April.
We will talk baseball at 9:50. 361-882-5397. if y'all guys had an opportunity out there to take a picture with the Astros World Championship, the World Series trophy, let us know. Hit us up. That'd be kind of cool to see. You can send a picture to the text line, whatever you'd like, 361-882-5397. Real quickly, before we wrap up the segment, District 29 5A, the baseball zone playoffs are set here locally. And the district championship series will be number 2 Ray versus number 15 Veterans Memorial in a 2 out of 3 series starting on Thursday with game 2 on Friday, game 3, if necessary, on Saturday. You also have Victoria East versus number 16 Carroll in a best of 3 and King versus GP in a best of 3 series as well. The winners of these series will go to the playoffs. Loser of Ray versus Vets will make the playoffs also. They'll just go into the playoffs at second place. So the playoffs are already here, guys. The way 29 5A does it, these are the playoffs. And we've been covering this all season long with the MIC Sports Network, MICSportsNetwork.com. And it's exciting to see now that we're down to the end. We're down to the top 6 teams, and only 4 of these teams are going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
2 of these very capable playoff teams are going to be sitting home. So, Marcos, just your general thoughts on the week to come for the Texas high school baseball slate.
I mean, honestly, I think Ray versus Vets, even throughout the whole state, might be the best tournament that we're going to see up until maybe the state round or the state semifinal. Because Ray versus Vets is going to be absolutely electric baseball. It's obviously going to be a huge playoff atmosphere. Cabinets, I'm sure, is going to be absolutely slam-packed.
Yeah.
It's going to be super entertaining. We've already called some really good games this year, and this is just going to go up a notch.
So game 1 of Ray versus Vets will happen Thursday at 8 p.m. at Cabinets.
Yeah, Marcos, I got a question in relation to the King and Carroll game that happened, because I heard what happened. Can you clear up the confusion that happened with that strike 3 call, or that supposed strike 3 call?
Okay, so kind of set the scene of what happened for those who didn't get to see it.
Yeah, Marcos?
Okay, so basically there was bases loaded. I think it was a 1-3 game. They had I think King was setting up, I think, their 5-hole hitter, and he got I think most people in the stadium thought that he got sat down on strikes, but the home plate umpire came out, both hands up, saying 2, 2, 2, 2. But the batter, I think it was Pancho Lawson, started walking back to the dugout. Everyone on the field thought that was the 3rd strike. I honestly think both dugouts thought it was the 3rd strike.
So the umpire missed the 3rd strike call, or gave an extra strike.
Either that, or he missignaled early in the count, like with his hands whenever he's signaling the count. And
there was a pitch
then
that
there was
he took
some confusion.
for a strike that was like in the very corner of the strike zone that people thought was a strike, and I guess that was the ball, right?
Interesting.
Maybe he even signaled a strike earlier in the count.
It has to be on the MIC,
that he took back.
Yeah.
the MIC Sports Network archive.
It's there. I haven't gone back and watched
King
it yet.
scored a run,
Yes, on the next
but then Carroll,
the next play.
but then the next batter, Carroll was able to force a ground out and win the game.
There we go. So interesting right there. So Ray versus Vets, Victoria East versus Carroll, and King versus GP. That is the big matchups this week. Winner goes to the playoffs. Winner of Ray versus Vets wins the district championship, and the loser will get second place. So that's going to wrap up what's happening in Corpus for this first segment. Lots of things going on today. Lots of things happening over the course of this weekend and into next week. It'd be nice if y'all guys could take advantage of that and go see some good baseball later on this week. And, of course, watch, if you can, or listen on the MIC Sports Network and right here on News Talk KEYS. Coming up next, Steven Jackson just can't keep the Spurs name out of his mouth. We have the audio to dissect, and we have some latest Spurs news as we approach the NBA's lottery. Keep it locked to the Sunday Sports Rush. James, Adin, and Marcos with you till 11 a.m. It's the Sunday Sports Rush, episode number 114. And we're rolling on 361-882-5397. Hit up the text line. Get your opinions. Get your takes in here. Coming up here in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk some NBA playoffs. Last night, the Lakers had a big win out in Los Angeles. The Sixers swept the Nets. Lots going on in the NBA. We'll break it all down for you coming up in about 10 minutes' time. Interesting things happen in the Spurs side of things. We are the official home of the Spurs here in Corpus Christi, so whenever news breaks on the Spurs, whenever stories happen concerning our beloved San Antonio Spurs, we have to react. So, Steven Jackson. How would you describe Steven Jackson? I guess, he's turned himself into a podcaster. He's turned himself into some kind of, media pundit. He has a very popular podcast. He talks to a lot of NBA players. I get it. I get what he does. I understand his lane, and he's made a lane for himself. He gets some big names. I get it. He gets a lot of views, et cetera, et cetera. But
I generally agree with most of his takes, but his Spurs takes, man.
It just seems like he is so he's just so hurt by what the Spurs did to him.
I mean, what did the Spurs do to him?
They released him twice.
They didn't really play him because they had 2 Hall of Famers playing in front of him.
But
I just think he's very hurt about his tenure with the Spurs.
I mean, he won his only championship with the Spurs
back in 2003.
And then
yes.
we tried to just hand him another one in 2013. We really did.
Well, I think T-Mac also was on the. I think wasn't Steven Jackson on the team before?
It was 13. I believe. He got cut
in 2013. We were gonna try to just hand him like a ring, and I think he started having problems with Pop.
Like, hey, come join us. Be on the bench. You're not gonna play that much. You're already late in your career.
I mean, he never made an All-Star, but he could score 20 a game if needed. So he was a good player, especially when he was with Golden State.
So apparently, what happened in 2013, you started to see Danny Green emerge. Manu Ginobili was getting minutes over him, and that kind of infuriated Steven Jackson, which pretty much forced the hand of Greg Popovich to eventually cut him. He was complaining about minutes. He thought he was better than Manu. He thought he was better than Danny Green, and he wanted to be on the court. That's what happened. So, obviously, Steven Jackson holds a grudge against San Antonio, and he took some shots at Tony Parker this past week, and also, of course, took some shots at the Spurs organization. We have the audio, Adin. Let's go ahead and play it. It's about a minute long. So here's Steven Jackson taking shots at Tony Parker and, of course, the Spurs organization on his podcast.
Tony Parker was getting cooked.
That's
like
Steph.
I always say.
That's
that
what
whole
Steph.
yeah.
That's Steph.
Tony Parker was getting cooked by every point guard that year. Speedy Claxton saved us. I don't know why they don't talk about Speedy Claxton and give him his props, bro. Tony Parker was damn near on the bench every fourth quarter because Steph was frying him. Jason Kidd was frying him. Oof. I'm just talking about the whole playoffs, but I get to Phoenix series. I was excited to be in the playoffs. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? But I knew, like going in my mind, big bro, I knew that they was gonna f over me. Like I just in my mind. So before we even won it,
they
the Spurs.
Oh,
so going into the playoffs,
define f over you.
Wasn't gonna pay me.
So you wasn't okay.
Before the playoffs even started, I'm already thinking about summer.
Okay.
I had a great year. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't playing at the beginning of the season. Now I'm starting to the point where I'm the second or third averaging lead scorer on the team. We got the best record in the league. But y'all got to see me this summer. Right.
So there we go. There's Steven Jackson once again going off on the Spurs.
I do have an interesting point here. Out of everybody that we've ever seen leave the Spurs organization, retire, trade it away, cut, whatever, he's the only one that has ever repeatedly come out against this team in a negative light that I remember.
I don't even think Kawhi himself, he doesn't say anything much at all, but I don't even think Kawhi is as angry as...
He threw some shade, I think,
Steven
soon
Jackson.
after the trade, in interviews or whatever, but it was subtle, and now him and Pop are hugging, and every time they've personally reunited in games or whatever, him and Pop are always super cordial. They always come say hi, shake hands, give hugs and laughs, and so I think Steven Jackson's really the only player that isn't all we're Spurs family for life. I love this organization.
And you know what's funny about that? The NBA just had a player survey that they do every single year, and they ask the questions, what's your favorite city? Who has the best organization? What's your favorite coach in the league? Who's your favorite coach in the league? Who's your favorite coach to play for? Who would you like to play for? And this past year, Greg Popovich was number one in all those categories on who players would love to play for, who players feels the best coach, etc. So if players are saying that Greg Popovich is this great guy, current players in the league, past players in the league, they're saying, man, I loved playing for Pop. And Steven Jackson is the outlier. Steven Jackson's the problem. It was never Pop. It was probably Steven Jackson's attitude, which got him eventually cut.
I mean, I think he just really didn't have that special trait that a lot of Spurs players had to have, and mainly Manu Ginobili of, hey, Manu, you could be a superstar averaging 20-plus points. This is back in the day. 20 points was a lot back then. So
it was.
So he could have averaged 20-plus points on another team, been the superstar, but no, on the Spurs, he came off the bench to bring the extra wave of scoring, and now he's going to be in the Hall of Fame because of it.
Now, to be fair to Steven Jackson, when you look at that 2003 season, he did average 12.8 points, 4 rebounds, about 3 assists per game, and he was he was an asset in that title run when they defeated the New Jersey Nets in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, yeah, he played his role.
And they needed him, too.
Yeah, they needed him. It's not like the Spurs just tossed him to the side and said, you're not going to play. They knew he was a good player. It's just the Spurs didn't want to pay him what he probably felt he was worth, and therefore, that's why he ended up leaving the Spurs the first time around. So, I mean, it sucks to see because Steven Jackson is he's a cool personality. He has some interesting takes like Adin was saying, and I generally agree with some of the things he says from his perspective, but when it comes to these Spurs issues, he's just so off base.
And it really stinks for us Spurs fans because he's the loudest voice out of any ex-Spur.
Yes.
No other ex-Spurs ever come out in the media or anything.
He's really tainting the Spurs name and making that organization look really bad.
Not really. Steven Jackson.
His opinion is.
Now, when it comes to the Spurs, I don't think his opinion holds that much weight.
No, I think with a lot of casual fans, I'm talking
casuals,
yes,
and maybe even some current NBA players. They see Steven Jackson, who's been there, done there, like, oh, man, see what S-Jack said about the Spurs? Oh,
especially with DeJounte, too, recently.
Yeah, I can't imagine playing for them. Like, it just puts a little cloud over the Spurs organization.
I mean, there was that poll you said a lot of players still want to play for Pop.
That's true.
Out of any other coach in the league.
So there we go. Steven Jackson, a bunch of sour grapes from him, as always, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the last time we hear about him talking about the San Antonio Spurs. So there we go. That wraps up that segment. 361-882-5397. When we come back, we will continue our NBA coverage because we got some playoff games to talk about. The Lakers, baby! The Lake Show got the win last night. Adin's disgusted by it. I'm happy about it. Let's talk about it after the break. Welcome back, Sunday Sports Rush. All types of chaos going on here behind the scenes. That's what happens when you have an on-air person solely go back there and try to push buttons. I pushed play at the break, and then it went straight to our bump out, and I was panicking, but luckily Adin was back in the nick of time.
Well, here's the thing. Well, I have to play the bump out.
This is a little behind the scenes right here for you listeners.
I have to play the bump out on the B bar because this board still doesn't want to be fixed. So, but I forgot to take out the bump out of the log. So
that's what I'm saying.
It's mostly my fault.
And then you got my idiotic caveman brain back there just pushing play, and then I'm like, oh, did I break this? Should have heard me panicking back there. I was like,
no, I did hear you. I did hear you, yeah.
But we're back.
You used to run the board.
I haven't ran a board in like 7 years. It's been a long time. At least 5. 361-882-5397. 361-882-5397. Hope everybody's having a good morning so far. Get your takes into the text line. Coming up in 10 minutes, we'll go around Major League Baseball because the A's are leaving Oakland. And Marcos has some Texas Rangers updates for us because he is our resident Rangers fan, and he's pretty excited about his first place American League West Texas Rangers. So we'll talk baseball coming up in about 10 minutes or so. But right now, we're going to continue our NBA discussion. I did have some more Spurs news I wanted to share with us prior to us going to commercial break. So there was a tie-breaking scenario between the Rockets and the Spurs. They had to do a coin flip in order to determine, I guess, draft order and such. The Rockets won the tie-breaking scenario.
Heartbreaking.
So that means that the Spurs officially finished with the third worst record in the NBA. It's Pistons, it's Rockets, it's Spurs, top three. Now, what that does mean, though, is that the Spurs, when you look at all the percentages of where they could land in the lottery, the Spurs do have a 40.1% chance at a top three pick. That's fantastic. That's good news. They have a 14% chance to get number one, 13.4 at number two, and 12.7 at number three. You add all that up, it's 40% chance at a top three pick. Not bad. The worst case scenario for the Spurs is that they could fall to pick number 7. That's a 7% chance. Pick number 6, there's a 26% chance that the Spurs could fall there.
That's too high.
That is a lot.
I don't like those odds. That's too high.
That's a lot. So what?
That's our most likely pick.
So 26 plus 7 is 33%. There's a 33% chance the Spurs could land at either pick 6 or pick 7 in the lottery. Those odds are very, very.
Come on, NBA gods, reward the Spurs. They've only been this bad for 1 year. Pistons and Rockets, they've been bad for 3 straight years.
Yeah, that's tough right there when you think about it like that. 40% chance at the top 3 or a 33% chance at pick 6 and 7. That is tough. That's the lottery is going to drive me insane when it happens.
Hopefully the basketball gods see what we've done as an organization.
When is the lottery? Let me look this up. It's going to happen on May 16th, so we are less than a month away from the NBA lottery officially going down on May 16th.
The Pistons just don't deserve it. Like they've been horrible. They've been tanking for like 6 different number 1 overall picks. It seems like
it does seem like that. So hopefully the NBA lottery gods can reward the Spurs. Speaking of some NBA, right? Because we're on it. Yesterday we had some games. Saturday's games in the NBA playoff slate looked like this. The 76ers defeated the Nets 96-88. The Sixers advance. They sweep the Nets 4-0, and they did it without Joel Embiid yesterday. This is the first Sixers sweep of a best-of-7 series since beating the Bucks back in 1985. First time the Sixers have swept anybody in a 7-game series.
I mean, I don't get the NBA schedule because the series is already done in 4 games while there was a couple of series that haven't even played their game 3 yet.
I know. Yeah, so speaking of that, the Bucks and Heat, that's one of those series where the Sixers had already played 4 games and the Bucks and Heat barely played game 3 last night. The Heat beat the Bucks 121-99. The Bucks, they don't have Giannis. Mm-hmm. The Heat are up 2-1. They're in Miami. But didn't Jimmy Butler left the game injured as well? From what I
Oladipo looks a lot more serious.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Butler's the guy. He looks like playoff Jimmy again too.
Are the Bucks officially on playoff alert, playoff upset alert here?
Giannis needs to come back.
Marcos posed that question yesterday in the group chat, and of course our Alex Weister, who's not on air today, but he is always talking to us in the group chat. He was very adamant that the Bucks are not on playoff upset alert.
Is he a Bucks fan?
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
No, they are. I said it the second that Giannis got injured. I was like, okay, Heat are probably going to upset them. Like, I think right now the Heat is a better team with Giannis out. I think that this Bucks team does not just function the same. I mean, they still have a lot of really good pieces, but they don't have a guy anymore.
They don't have that monster. They don't have that athletic freak.
The Heat have that guy. They have Jimmy Butler. They had the worst overall team, but they still have their guy.
And it's crazy because the Heat, I mean, they came in through the play-in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This typically doesn't happen like that, but hey, an injury or two in the playoffs, and all of a sudden a series is flipped on its head. So the Heat are up 2-1 on the Bucks with their 121-99 victory. Jimmy Butler dropped 30 points. Suns and Clippers. The Suns have taken a commanding lead in this series. They won yesterday 112-110. Kevin Durant dropped 31 points, 11 rebounds. He had 6 assists, and the Suns are now 3-1 up on the Clippers. But shout out to Russell Westbrook, though. For a guy who took a lot of crap this season about, oh, he's washed, oh, he's not this, he's not that. him with the Lakers was a horrible move. Well, ever since he's joined the Clippers, and especially in this playoff series, he has looked like the Russ of old. He dropped 37 points last night, had 6 rebounds, and, he's been one of the key cogs with Kawhi Leonard not being 100% and being out.
I think right now he's the heart and soul of that team. I mean, whenever you look at the bench and everything out there, he's the loudest. He has the most energy. He's playing hard defense. He's hustling. Like, even in that game where he shot like 3 for 13, he had like 4 blocks. And he was playing amazing defense.
11 rebounds. He had that block against
Now, he's done some good things on the court, but did y'all guys catch what happened last week whenever he went back into the, I guess, underneath the arena in some kind of suite level that they had, and he started talking crap to that Suns fan? That was a little wild ass. I was kind of like, what?
Oh, we did. Yeah, I think it was at like halftime, right?
Yeah, I was kind of like, what's going on here?
But to me, man, the Clippers are probably the most snake-bitten organization in NBA history in terms of like.
I mean, what? Paul George he seems to be getting hurt all the time. Kawhi's knee just acts up at the most inopportune time.
I mean, the Clippers could score without them. It's just that they're missing their defensive abilities.
Yeah, so those 3 series.
I think the Suns Clippers is a wrap. I think the Suns win in Game 5.
I think so too. I still think Heat and Bucks. That one can go. That one can go 7.
The Bucks blew out the Heat in Game 2. I don't think that series is over.
I don't think it's over, and especially depending on what happens with Giannis,
it's gonna go 6 or 7 for sure.
Now the late game last night was Lakers and Grizzlies, and the Lakers come away with the victory 110-101 in Los Angeles. The Lakers go up 2-1. Anthony Davis dropped 31 points, had 17 rebounds, had 3 blocks. He had an outstanding game, to be quite honest with you. He was active. He was everywhere on the floor. And then, of course, LeBron James and company, they did their thing. And despite Ja Morant scoring 45 points for the Grizzlies, the Lakers still managed to win. And Dylan Brooks got tossed from the game for low-blowing LeBron James.
Let me acknowledge 2 things.
Go for it.
James, you'll agree with one of them.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
The Lakers go wherever Anthony Davis is going to take him. But he didn't play well in Game 2 and they lost. Whenever Anthony Davis plays well, that's when the Lakers are at their best. They have to go through 8 for the Lakers to make the finals. Anthony Davis has to play aggressive.
I will agree with that.
LeBron's not the impact player he used to be. He can still, he can still drop his 20 and 5 and whatnot. Like, he can still be productive, but when Anthony Davis is going, the Lakers are a different team. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship, but they can make the conference finals if Anthony Davis plays that aggressive.
I will agree with what you're saying. They run through the big man. They run through Anthony Davis. And as long as he's not in street clothes, I think they have a decent chance of winning some games and winning some series here in the playoffs.
I think that the Lakers function the best when Anthony Davis is their best player.
Yeah.
When LeBron James is not, when LeBron James has to be their best player, it turns into a one-man effort. LeBron just running full steam to the rim every single.
A bunch of isolation.
It's ISO. But with Anthony Davis as their hopeful leading scorer, being their best player, LeBron's able to play more of a point guard role where they could run the pick and roll with him and AD, and they could suck in some defenders, and then he could kick it out to their shooters now that they have they got at the trade deadline.
Like last night, for instance, he had 5 assists and he had 25 points. LeBron James, 10 of 20 from the field. 5 of 7 from the free throw line. That's a perfect night for LeBron James right there. You're not asking him to do too much, but he's not doing too little.
And the difference maker in the series has been the Rui Hachimura off the bench. That guy. Oh wow.
Rui Hachimura is having a career series right here, career defining series, man.
And I'm gonna agree. And James is gonna be shocked again by what I'm about to say. I'm gonna agree with a certain donkey, Draymond Green. Because last year he made a point about Dylan Brooks, saying that he said that the Grizzlies can't win a championship with Dylan Brooks on their team. Or, not like on their team, but like as like a guy in their rotation.
Interesting.
I agree with Draymond there. Dylan Brooks is, and I liked him out of Oregon, but he talks too big for what he provides on the court.
Okay. I think that's a fair criticism there.
And he's not a consistent enough shooter. He's not a consistent enough defender. He plays hard and he hustles, but it's like he's like it's just not there with him.
So Dylan Brooks had 7 points last night. 3 of 13 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. Not a great night for Mr. Brooks.
He for some reason has more of a green light than he should. In the first half, he outshot Desmond Bain. Desmond Bain's a better shooter. I know Desmond Bain has struggled this series, but I trust him shooting the ball more than Dylan Brooks, because at least Desmond Bain's shown consistencies. He's like a 20. He's averaging almost 20 points a game or around there. He's going to be an all-star soon. Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks, the Grizzlies. I don't see it, man.
Do we have the clip of Doris Burke absolutely flaming him by any chance?
No.
I was basically.
What did she say? What did Doris Burke say?
What I said about, like,
Pretty much, yeah. She was like, he's not a great defender. He's not a good shooter. Like,
Doris went in like that.
it was pretty much like his behavior. Like, you can't. It's not tolerable
for the kind of skill he has.
Yeah, when he's not producing.
There's only two players that should be drawing with LeBron James, and that's John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.
And
okay.
Draymond Green.
And Draymond from the Warriors, probably.
That's it. I mean, John Morant has all the right to talk. He balled out.
So I want to play the clip because I pulled it, and I just want to play it for all my efforts this morning. LeBron James had a amazing fast break reverse dunk, which put the Lakers up 63-42 with 8:46 in the third quarter. Here is the audio courtesy of ESPN.
Lost it in traffic. And back the other way, 3-on-1. LeBron taking flight. Oh, set it with his chest. Timeout, Memphis. Flight 6, ready for takeoff.
The man who is number one across points, games, minutes in the playoffs. It's year 20. He doesn't look like a Mark.
Oh, come on.
Doris Burke, Mark Jackson on the call. So there we go. That wraps up our NBA discussion. Of course, tons of games today, so make sure you check that out. 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. Let us know where you're at this morning and get your opinions in here. Coming up next, Marcos will gloat about the Rangers, and we will talk about the A's impending move to Las Vegas. It's Major League Baseball talk, and we got it for you after the break. 361-882-5397. Hope everybody's having a safe Sunday morning out there. I could see right outside the glass of the 1440 Keys mothership, right outside our bullet-stricken window.
Tornado!
It's dark out there, and I just got a text from my wife saying, hey, be careful. Big weather's coming in at 11 a.m. as soon as the show's over. So I'm not sure if I'm going to... I'm going
to hunker down.
I might hunker down just for a few minutes just to kind of see if it passes, but everybody out there right now, be safe. Big weather coming to Corpus.
Just real quick, did y'all see that video of returning that tornado in Oklahoma earlier this week?
Yeah, you showed it to us.
How you saw how close he was to it, and how, like, if he didn't move back, that tornado would have swallowed him up.
How much of a psychotic human being do you need to be to actively chase tornadoes and Mother Nature and hurricanes?
That dude is passionate, man.
There's been a good amount of people to die, sadly.
Yeah, a few prefer. I remember it happened to El Reno, Oklahoma, 2013. Tim Samaras, he was like the pioneer of
he ended up dying.
Yeah, it was a big bad tornado in El Reno in 2013. But Reed Timmer is the GOAT, man. He's a PhD. He knows what he's doing.
Let me ask a question.
It seems like he's always there.
Let me ask a question because Adin is our resident weather guy. He's fascinated by this. Would you go on a ride along with Reed Timmer chasing a tornado or a hurricane? Which one would you rather choose?
Probably, it's easier to know where a hurricane's going to be. So probably a tornado because that's more hard to pinpoint and whatnot.
Interesting.
It's kind of crazy because if we weren't for Corpus, I think most people would say tornado.
I mean,
because hurricanes are pretty horrible.
Hurricanes suck.
We've just lived through a good amount of them, so I think it's like
I
whatever.
easily could have been like, hey, I'm gonna go to Rockport and ride out Hurricane Harvey. Like, I could have easily done that. Whereas tornadoes, you have to
You wanted to go to Rockport?
Obviously, I was gonna
go
do
to
that.
where it hit the worst?
Hey, let me just say that's a weird flex, but all right.
I said I wasn't gonna do that. I'm not gonna risk damage
Would you want
to
to stop
car.
by Port A too, or what?
No, but I would have.
361-882-5397.
But tornadoes, they're much harder to
pinpoint.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now, when it comes to Mother Nature rankings, I am more scared of the tornado than anything.
I think sinkholes.
At least at hurricanes, you have warning.
Hurricanes, you can prep up for a couple days. Tornado, it's just
I
bam.
think Corpus is now with the last several years where I think we know the routine now. So.
We do. 361-882-5397. Everybody stay safe out there. Get in on the text line. Let us know your thoughts on all the sports. Let's go ahead. Let's talk some Major League Baseball. In particular, the Texas Rangers are looking red hot. And yesterday, Adolis Garcia absolutely went off, Marcos. Describe to me what is going on with the Rangers and Adolis Garcia. He's absolutely on a tear for Texas.
I mean, what's going on is just Bochy has these boys walking around with their chest puffed out a little bit. Like, they're walking around with swagger. They're playing with swagger. They have faith in their pitching staff for, like, the first time in years and years. So they're just walking around with their chest puffed out a little bit.
Yesterday, the Rangers got an 18-3 win over the A's. It looked like slow pitch softball out there, the way Adolis was blasting home runs. Adolis Garcia had 3 home runs and 8 RBI against the A's yesterday, and each home run was just a mammoth blast. Adolis, like I said last week, is starting to become one of my favorite dudes to watch. I just love his swagger. I love the energy, the intensity. He's fun.
He's one of the most entertaining players in baseball, for sure, if not the most entertaining. Whenever he's hot, whenever he's actually touching the baseball, because he has in the past had a super high strikeout percentage, but whenever he's actually putting the ball in play, he's super entertaining. He has one of the best gloves in the American League, for sure. He has a super power bat. You know, he has an amazing arm in the outfield. He's very fast. He has all the tools to be just entertaining, super entertaining player.
Now, Jacob deGrom, of course, he left earlier this week with some sort of wrist injury, but according to, everybody out there, deGrom is slated to start today against the A's. Is that correct?
Yes, he is.
All right, so deGrom will be going against the A's.
Not fair.
And right now, I'm looking at the American League West standings. The Rangers are 13-7. They got a 2.5-game lead over the Houston Astros, who are 11-10. And by the way, since we are on the baseball subject, Astros got the win last night in Atlanta. Yordan Alvarez had a 2-run bomb. Kyle Tucker had a 2-run bomb. Mauricio Dubon extended his hitting streak to 16 games, which is a major league leading hitting streak. And
Astros
things are looking
4 of the last 5?
Yeah, 4 of the last 5. They've won 3 in a row, and they've won the series against the Braves. And today they're going for the sweep against Atlanta in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I tell you that last win against the Blue Jays, I feel like that was like a momentum shift in the season.
Where they had Blue Jays had bases loaded, no
0
outs.
Bases loaded, 0 outs. The Blue Jays only got 1 run across, and then Brian Abreu comes in, shuts the door on them.
He shut the door down against Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr.
and George Springer.
And Springer.
And then the Astros put up, 9 runs? Or like
6 runs in the 7th.
6 runs, yeah.
And they blew it open. And ever since then, earlier midweek, the Astros have seemed to have kind of caught their stride. Of course, we're going to talk more Astros with Landry Locker coming up at 10:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Sports Radio 610 Houston. He's going to be our guest here in about 40 minutes. So looking forward to diving a little bit more in depth with him on the Astros. But back to the Rangers and what's happening. They're going for the series win against the A's today. And I think they're going to get it. And speaking of the A's, guys, the A's officially announced that they have bought land in Las Vegas, and they will be building a stadium by 2027. They're looking to move to Las Vegas by 2027, and they could possibly move earlier to Vegas and play in the AAA stadium until their Major League Baseball stadium is ready. So the Oakland A's will be no more here within the next year or so.
I think it's just kind of ridiculous.
It's sad. I'm honestly kind of sad for the fans of Oakland.
Yeah, and you can tell the A's organization kind of gave up on caring about the team in Oakland.
And this is what they're going to try and do. That A's organization, with their stingy ownership, they're going to blame it on the fans for not showing up to the ballpark, when it's not the fans' fault that the ownership put out a minor league baseball club with the lowest payroll in baseball out there. Why would the fans support that when you're not even trying to win? But the owners will spin zone it and blame it on the fans. That's what the owners are going to do. The owners will say, the fans didn't support us. They forced our hand. That's absolute BS. The A's ownership did it to Oakland. And I'm sad for all legitimate Oakland A's fans. I might make fun of Oakland a lot, and I might make fun of the A's a lot because they're an easy target, and They've kind of had a little bit of a rivalry with the Astros since the Astros joined the AL West.
I mean,
but
the A's had a good team like several years ago. There used to be a little playful, little small rivalry.
That's what I'm saying. And I just feel bad for the fans of Oakland because they've lost the Warriors, they've lost the Raiders, and now they're losing the A's, and they ain't going to have any pro sports anymore. So that sucks for them.
And it's just kind of embarrassing. They have this weird idea that they want to pay everybody whenever they're on their they don't want to pay anybody once they get off of their like minor league deals, when after they've been called up for a while. I mean, think about all the star players that they've lost. I mean, Chris Bassett was an amazing pitcher, Sean Murphy behind the plate, Matt Chapman, Josh Darnoldson, Marcus Semien, the third baseman, I'm losing him, but he was an all-star third baseman.
Chapman.
Yeah. And they had the first Matt Olson over there at first base, who's on the Braves now. Just stars. Like, they could have had 6 or 7 all-stars all over their lineup, but they don't want to pay nobody because they're cheap, and now they're going to lose.
As an Astros fan, I used to kind of fear the A's because I knew they were always pesky. I knew they were always pesky, though, that they could compete.
No, you genuinely didn't know if the A's were going to hit 70 wins or 100 wins. I mean, they did that like multiple times.
That's going to wrap up our baseball discussion. We'll have more after the break, but coming up next, Jalen Hurts just got a bag of money. We talk that and more. You're listening to News Talk KUIS Corpus Christi from the Americana Arms Studios. We'll be right back for hour number 2. Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend listeners worldwide. Welcome into hour number 2 of the Sunday Sports Rush, right here on News Talk KEYS, 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. James Espinosa with you, alongside Adin Ducker.
Cougars, I love Cougars.
And Marroquinn is in the building. 361-882-5397. Get your takes in here. The weather is getting really bad outside. Like, it
got dark.
It is dark out there. And
it literally looks like it's about like 7 o'clock. Like the sun's about to set.
It got really bad. And we were just talking off air that if we're going to be caught in a severe weather situation with possible tornado action, who knows, right? Hopefully not. At least we're in a fortified building. Like, this should hold up.
And apparently we have bulletproof windows. So.
Yeah, we do have bulletproof windows.
Yeah, there's still
that's proven.
There's still that bullet.
We do have a window that is looking outside to Leopard Street that does have a bullet in it. Yes, that is true. So
hey, it stopped it up nice though.
Fortified. It's a fortified building. Yeah.
That's been there since I've been like a toddler.
Yeah. Been there for a minute. So 361-882-5397. It's hour number 2. Coming up at 10:30, Landry Locker will join us, a Sports Radio 610. We're going to be talking Texans. We're going to be talking Astros with him. Landry knows his stuff. He holds it down weekly, daily in Houston on Sports Radio 610. So we'll talk to him about that at 10:30. So stick around for that interview coming up here shortly.
I just sent a photo of the radar on the Twitter chat.
Oh, I'm going to have to check that out here in a second. I know Marcos has a Rangers note you wanted to get to that we didn't discuss in the last segment. Go ahead.
A couple quick things about Adolis Garcia's performance yesterday. This is only the 14th player since 1901 with 5 extra base hits in a game, because he did go 5 for 5 with 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 8 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 16 total bases. And he is the only player in American League history with 3 home runs and 2 doubles in a game.
That's insane. In
American League history.
You know, baseball stats never seem to amaze me because there's always something that happens like that where you think, there's no way that's never not happened before.
Yeah.
And Adolis did that yesterday, so that's pretty incredible right there. We got George D on the text line, 361-882-5397. George is weighing in this morning. George says, good morning, gentlemen. The Rangers are going to go a long way this year, but when it comes to the wins and losses at the end of the year, the Astros will win the division. Be safe, my friends. We are in for lots of crazy weather coming. As for sports talk, you are number 1.
Appreciate you, George.
Thank you, George. Appreciate that. And George, of course, acknowledging the Rangers' hot start, but also saying, hey, the Astros at the end will probably win the division. That's George's take.
And that's reasonable. And I think I remember before the season started, I said, our best case scenario as a Rangers this year as a season where we didn't even make the playoffs, we weren't really close to sniffing the playoffs. That our goal, our ceiling, I guess, would be competing with the Astros for the division. And I said that the Astros' floor would be competing for the division with the Rangers.
So one's the floor, one's the ceiling, but
Yes.
for each franchise. I get you. And I did mention when we made our Major League Baseball predictions, I picked the Rangers to make one of the wild card spots. I believe I said that they'd be one of the wild card teams in the American League. So far, so good on that. Edward's in here on the text line, 361-882-5397. Edward says, I did not like the Rangers City Connect uniforms yesterday.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to, Marcos, you want to talk about the Rangers City Connect uniforms?
I think as a former baseball player and an avid hat wearer, I love the hats. The hats are fire.
Okay, hat is good. The logo, the T and the R in the Old English font, that's
It's
good.
clean.
I like that. I don't even mind the cream white jerseys they have.
Looks good.
The black pants,
I don't mind it. I know a lot of people are saying it's like beer league softball, but
yeah.
I don't mind it
Okay.
because
So,
the black pants are like pretty uniquely.
it is unique. It is
softball.
unique. It is, yeah. It does look a little softball-ish.
Yeah.
Little Tuesday night, 9 p.m., like you said, beer league,
Yeah.
rec league softball, but I don't mind it overall.
I think most Rangers fans, like, I think it's probably like it's above 50% probably that they like it.
Yeah.
Overall.
So there we go. Thank you guys for getting in on the text line, 361-882-5397. Keep on sending them in and stay safe out there during this big weather we're having here in Corpus Christi. Let's go ahead and let's talk some NFL because there was one big major headline that occurred at the beginning of the week. The Philadelphia Eagles and quarterback Jalen Hurts have reached an agreement on a 5-year, $255 million extension, including $179 million guaranteed, Adam Schefter reported on Monday. Hurts' deal is the biggest contract in terms of average annual value in NFL history. Deshaun Watson's $230 million contract signed last year with the Browns, which is fully guaranteed, still is biggest in terms of guaranteed money. Now, the interesting thing about this Hurts situation, the Hurts extension includes a no-trade clause, which is a first in Eagles history, a source told Schefter. Hurts' salary cap numbers for the next 4 seasons, he's $6.15 million in 2023, $13.5 million in 24, $21.7 million in 25, and $31.7 million in 2026. So Hurts, 24 years old, MVP candidate last season, threw for over 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and he rushed for 760 yards and 13 scores. Guys, Hurts has just banked in the extension, but my question is, are the Eagles kind of jumping the gun a little bit here, considering that Hurts has only had 1.5 good seasons? It's not as if he's been doing this for the entirety of his rookie contract. He's emerged in the past 1.5 years, but do you think that the Eagles might have jumped the gun just a tad?
No, I don't think
No.
so. I think that they luckily found their franchise quarterback. I think he kind of stumbled onto them because I don't think that it was any guarantee that he was going to turn out to be the player that he is. But a lot of people around the league have said that Jalen Hurts would not have succeeded if not for his work ethic. And that's a guy that I want in my building long term. Even if he kind of flattens out and does have a Dak Prescott kind of career where he might have a peak, where he's a top 10 quarterback, and then other years he's a middle of the pack quarterback. Because nowadays in the NFL, you have to have at least a middle of the pack quarterback to compete. You have to. And I think he's probably one of the best in the league right now. He's a great character guy, like I said, hard worker. He has developed himself to be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's a leader on that team, and I think he deserved to get paid.
Now, whenever you look at Jalen Hurts and everything that he does right, you might look at 22 touchdown passes, which is tied for 14th in the NFL. You might say, it's not that great, but you look at what he does with his legs and the 760 yards on the ground and the 13 rushing touchdowns, and then it makes a little bit more sense on how he's the total package. Now, my thing with the contract is this. Will his style of play lend himself to seeing another contract down the line, or did the Eagles just say, you know what, considering Jalen Hurts' style of play, his age, we got to go all in right now for the next 4 to 5 years because with this style of play, he might not be as great in 5 years as he is now.
And, you know,
the accumulation of hits, etc. So that's why they're like, you know what, let's go for it now with this big contract.
I remember somebody asked, like, Joe Burrow, like, how, like, do you think that this is your Super Bowl window right now? And because a lot of players only have certain time periods in their career where they could really compete for a Super Bowl. And Joe Burrow said, my entire career is my Super Bowl window, which I agree. I think that he's going to be able to compete for a Super Bowl for a very long time. I don't think that Jalen Hurts, as of right now, has the talent to lead a team, kind of like drag a team along to the Super Bowl. You know, I think that is much more of a Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes type trait, and I don't think he's on that level yet.
Now, let's not forget also that Jalen Hurts probably had one of the greatest losing Super Bowl efforts we've ever seen out of a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, dude could have been named Super Bowl MVP on a losing team. You know what I mean? That's how great he was during this past Super Bowl. It was a heroic effort. My thing is, though, long term, he relies so much on his legs that the accumulation of hits, the wear and tear, I'm not so sure in 3 years that he's going to be as effective as he is now. And therefore, he's going to have to rely a little bit more on his arm to possibly extend his career and save some of his legs.
Yeah, there's always, and you can also say there's always the Cam Newton comparison as well because he was similar.
That's a good comp.
I think Jalen Hurts. I feel like he has more. I'm not gonna say Cam Newton had like he wasn't level headed on his shoulders because he did have injury issues.
Yeah,
but I feel like Jalen Hurts is more prepared to, you know, withstand some of the adversity that Cam Newton just wasn't able to really play through.
Now,
so I think, you know, I like for the Eagles. I trust their front office more than like 90% of other front offices.
Look, Howie Roseman and company, Jeffrey Lurie and company, those guys, they know how to run a franchise.
Yeah, they managed to rebuild in like 2 seasons, and now they're already competing for a Super Bowl again.
I said whenever it was around Super Bowl time that they went to the Super Bowl in 2017, won the Super Bowl, tore it down, and then rebuild, and they went back to another Super Bowl within, like you said, 6 or 7 years. Other franchises can't even manage to get out of their own way. I mean, look at the damn Cowboys, 27 years, and Jerry Jones is still tripping over his Johnny Walker Blue. You know what I mean? So I got no problems with what the Eagles do when it comes to their franchise. And you know what? Their track record has proven that, hey, the moves they typically make, they typically work. 361-882-5397. We have Mondo in here. Mondo says, good morning, guys. I think Hurts will be inflicted with the dreaded contract curse, meaning when you get a good big contract, your performance declines. Signed, Mondo.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes didn't really decline. So
I
can't say it's not. That's not really a theory. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, but Patrick Mahomes has got to be a different animal. I mean, he's probably one of the best in the league.
He's one of one.
Like there was talks in like his first full season starting whenever he went to the Super Bowl or his MVP season. They were like, is he the greatest quarterback of all time? Like, is he the most talented quarterback that we've ever seen?
Yeah,
and
but
this was like his first like real season starting.
I don't agree with that. Like, you give a player a big contract and they're not going to carry anymore. It happens with some players, but it's not like a thing where you give a player a big contract and suddenly they're not good anymore.
Does Hurts have some Mahomes potential? Is he Mahomes light in a sense? I mean,
I feel like
he is an ultimate playmaker.
And he did improve his pocket passing. I feel like a little bit more consistency there, and I think he has potential.
Let's make it local a little bit, and let's toss the Cowboys into this scenario because why not? Let's put some fire on this. Yeah. Life on the line. Well, maybe that's too drastic, right? But you have to make the ultimate choice: Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts from this point going forward.
Oh, Jalen Hurts.
Oh, what? No, yeah, easy. Is
that too easy?
Yeah,
that's easy. I think
Jalen Hurts already has one season that's better than any season Dak Prescott's ever had.
I think 32 teams out of the 32 teams in the NFL pick Jalen Hurts.
So is Dak Prescott officially not the best quarterback in the NFC East anymore, in y'all's opinion?
I would say so.
Yeah, I think this last season was.
Wow, that's interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I guess. Okay, if we're considering just looking at last year, that's kind of fair. I would agree. Body of work-wise, Dak has had a little bit more years on Hurts. I get it. Look, I'm just trying to stir it up a little
I
bit.
think that
Some
genuinely-
Eagles-Cowboys conversation. here.
If Dak has the same season that he had and Daniel Jones improves, he could slip to number 3 in the NFC East.
No, Daniel Jones, I'm not. I mean, the Giants extended him, but I don't.
Let's not go that far. Let's not go that far.
I think it depends on the season that he has.
Yeah, I know. And look, I love Daniel Jones. I think he's a good quarterback. But
All Daniel Jones really did was limit his turnovers, but he didn't really carry the Giants.
He's a good rushing quarterback too. A lot of people forget that he does produce with his legs as well.
Genuinely, if Dak Prescott leads the league in interceptions again, and Daniel Jones improves on a pretty good season, I think that's a conversation that needs to be had.
Okay, I think that'd be if that does hold true. That is very fair, and that's gonna wrap up our segment. 361-882-5397. Would you take Daniel Jones over Dak Prescott as your starting quarterback? Let us know. 361-882-5397. When we come back, there was a big fight last night, and Alex Weister is going to call us and talk to us about it. We're going to talk Garcia. We're going to talk Davis. Weigh in on the text line. Let us know what's up. We'll be right back. We're back. Sunday Sports Rush, News Talk KEYS. James, Adin, and Marcos with you. Just a heads up, listening audience, we're in here in the Key Studios. There's a monsoon outside right now in Corpus, and the lights have just flickered.
Yeah.
So if you do hear, if we do go off the air, we love you guys. Okay?
Be safe.
Be safe
We're
out
not
there.
going to die, James.
I know, but if we just all of a sudden stop talking and all you hear is static on your radio or on the app, we are here. We'll be fine.
Hey, nice to know you, Gene.
It's been real, guys. Thank y'all. Sunday Sports Rush, 361-882-5397. Coming up in 10 minutes, we have Landry Locker on the line, Sports Radio 610, talking Texans and Astros. So hopefully the power holds and we can stick to that. But right now, we do have Alex Weister on the line because we're going to talk some Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Last night, Tank Davis defeats Ryan Garcia with I guess it's a TKO, right?
Yeah.
TKO, stoppage in the 7th round off of a liver shot to the body of Ryan Garcia. Garcia falls to a knee, delayed reaction. Garcia falls to a knee. He cannot get up past the 10 count, and it is over. And Tank Davis wins. I got a chance to see that entire fight. It was awesome. And there's nothing like a big boxing match, in my opinion. It just hits on a different level. We have Alex Weister. What's up, Alex?
What's up, guys? It's been a while.
It has, baby. How you doing?
It's been a while.
I'm doing great.
Do you got big weather in Dallas?
Looking outside, it's a little cloudy, but we don't have anything compared to what you guys got. I don't think we will end up really getting much.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy out here. So last night was the fight, and I know you had some pretty strong opinions on the fight.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and share those opinions with the listening audience?
Yeah, it just, the ending, it seemed a little bizarre, but thinking about it a little bit more, compared to the liver shots that you would see in the UFC, those are a lot harder. And his shot, it was clean, but I don't think it would connect as hard as you would see in the UFC with like a leg kick. So the delayed response makes a little more sense, but it did seem a little bizarre in the moment, him predicting it and Garcia not really wanting to explain what happened to him. So I could see why people would want to run with that narrative that it was rigged.
I just think that the rigged narrative, and look, this is no disrespect to you. This is just how I've always felt about the rigged narrative. Is I don't know. I just don't see it being rigged. I just don't see how you can call it rigged. I think that shot landed flush, and it happened to Oscar De La Hoya. Bernard Hopkins did the same thing to him. Way back in the day, landed a flush shot to the to the liver, and even De La Hoya had a delayed reaction because that's a paralyzing move. This ain't just opinion; that's actual science.
And Ryan Garcia himself did the same thing to Luke Campbell in the fight he had over a year ago.
Yeah, and so it happened, and it's kind of ironic that it happened to Garcia in that fashion. But prior to that fight, prior to that blow from Davis, I honestly thought that the fight was pretty competitive. There was moments when Garcia was up in the guard of Davis, or up in his up in the telephone booth, so to speak, right? On him, exchanging blows. He even, it looked like a couple of times early on, kind of shook Davis up in the first and early second rounds, and then he kind of overexposed himself, and that's when Davis dropped him in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very competitive fight, and I think if he wasn't out of the fight in that round, we may have been looking at like a 4-3 in terms of scoring the rounds.
Yeah.
Because it was a no contest, 2 through 5 went to Tank, but the first and sixth was for sure for Garcia. And looking at the pace of that next round, it was looking like Garcia was ready to take that one as well. And as many people said going into that fight, the later rounds seem to be the rounds that Garcia seems to thrive in a little bit more.
So I had the exact same thing, Alex. So on the official, unofficial Espinosa scorecard, I had it at the time of the knockout, 4 rounds to 2, Davis, and I had rounds 1 and 6 in favor of Garcia. So I guess we saw it kind of the same way right there in terms of how the fight actually played out. Now, of course, pretty heated rivalry, but I'm just glad that these two got to step in the ring. And a lot of people were saying that Garcia has a glass chin and Garcia won't be able to get up after Davis connects. You got to give credit to Garcia a little bit. He did stand up after getting hit square in the chin.
It was a tough shot. I will give him, that was a very tough shot that he took.
Marcos, what's up?
No, I'm good.
Oh, I thought you had something.
No, I'm listening, y'all. Good takes. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, sorry. There we go. We're with Alex Weister, by the way, on the Sports Rush.
Alex, did you see the video of Conor McGregor I wouldn't say consoling him, but it was after the fight, right, James?
Yes. Post-fight, Conor talked to him.
He was just giving up some pointers and tips and whatnot. It seemed Ryan Garcia was a little attentive about that.
I think.
We're going to see them fight again, and there's so many layers to this. You have Floyd backing up Tank. You have Conor backing up Garcia. There's just so much hype behind all of this. I have no doubt that we're going to see them fight again at some point.
I mean, Davis literally he gets inspired by Floyd literally on and off the ring. So
it's kind of crazy how Floyd is in his camp. De La Hoya's in the Garcia camp. We all know that Floyd and De La Hoya have a long, extensive history.
Yeah.
They got to run it back, but Ryan Garcia did say last night that he wants to have a couple of more fights in between before they run it back. So we'll see what happens. And then, of course, there was this weird hydration clause that happened, and not trying to make excuses or anything like that, but that's just, I don't know, that was a little strange that clause was introduced.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that.
I mean, Floyd's kind of the same way in his fights. There always had to be a little stipulation there, but both fighters agreed to it. So
so you watched the fight last night, and let me just ask you a question. Did you have a little bev?
Yeah, I had a couple.
There we go. I feel you. I like that, baby. We're with Alex Weister, talking Garcia, talking Davis. Davis defeats Garcia 7 rounds via TKO liver punch. Adin?
Alex, do you think Ryan Garcia is going to learn from this and come back a better fighter, or do you think he's going to go the Amir Khan route?
I think he already learned, case in point, him saying that he wants to take a couple more fights and come back. I think that's the route that everybody needs to take.
Less time on Instagram and TikTok, so to speak?
Yeah. When you look at like UFC fighters, case in point, Adesanya versus Pereira, they ran it back very, very quick.
That's facts.
I feel like the fighters just have to take a couple of fights to just, get themselves back and get ready to fight again. Of course, Adesanya won that, so he took the time he needed, but I don't think these fighters should be able to run it back right away.
I agree. I think Garcia does need a couple of more fights, and even though Garcia lost last night, I will say this. Whenever two boxers have heat like this, we usually see boxers try and, duck each other. They usually don't like to step into the ring because everybody fears having that one loss on your record. But credit to both of these fighters for actually stepping in there and getting it on. Last night was great for the sport of boxing. It was great for combat sports, period.
A lot of people watching.
And I think we can all be thankful that these two warriors stepped in the ring and put on a hell of a show. Alex, that's our heart out music, my man. We got to let you go.
All righty. Yeah, you guys have a good one and stay safe.
All righty. You too, baby. We'll talk to you later on. Coming up next, Landry Locker joins the 1440 Keys hotline. We're talking Texans. We're talking Astros. We're talking sports with the one and only Landry Locker of Sports Radio 610. Stick around. Sunday Sports Rush. We're with you this morning. We're battling some heavy weather outside, so hope everybody stays safe out there.
You went early.
I did go early. It's James, it's Adin, it's Marcos. We're with you till 11 a.m. Right now, though, wasting no time, we do have Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610 Houston. He's the host of In the Loop, and he's with us to talk some Texans, some Astros, and everything in between. Landry, good morning. Thank you for being with us. Landry, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, there you are. Oh, what's up, Landry? Hey, shout out to you, man. We appreciate you being on with us this morning, talking some Texans. It's NFL Draft Week. I'm pretty sure your guys up at 610, you included, are very excited about that. Y'all have been building up to this. The Texans, it's a pivotal moment in their franchise, I'd say. How are you feeling as you and the Texans head into Draft Week?
It's pretty uncertain, to be honest. It was, for a while it seemed like they were going to get the guy that they like most at quarterback in Bryce Young. Now it appears that that's not going to be the case. So this is as much uncertainty around here as we've experienced in a while. So we don't know whether they're going to go quarterback. We don't know whether they're going to go D-line. We don't know whether they're going to trade. So the feeling is uncertainty and anxiousness.
Yeah, man. So those reports came out, right, that Bryce to Carolina is looking like it's going to happen. And then I've seen, one of your coworkers, Sean Pendergast, he put it out on Twitter that Vegas has these odds out that say Will Levis has jumped into the conversation as pick number 2 in the draft. Now, that could be pick number 2 for another team. It could be pick number 2 for the Texans. Are you on a Will Levis to the Texans hype train that some Texans fans are?
No, I'm not. I mean, that doesn't excite me at all. But I think it speaks as much to, what we've been seeing from C.J. Stroud and the kind of dropping stock. But I mean, it's going to be a hard sell for me to get excited about Will Levis being the number 2 pick. I would love to hear the sales pitch. I know D'Amico Ryans and the offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, they've been in these types of situations before in San Francisco. But I would have to hear why Will Levis, but as far as like getting excited and stuff and like hyping it up and billboards and stuff, that's a hard sell for me.
Maybe it's the mayo and the coffee that can get you excited.
God, yeah.
Do you buy that, or you think that's a bit?
I think it was a bit, and then I think everybody, like all the local media and all that, just kind of took it to a new level, and he just kind of playing around with it.
Oh, I can guarantee you, if Will Levis does get drafted by Houston, I can guarantee you there will be somebody up in Houston who will go on the radio or who will go on air on TV that will try that. I can almost guarantee that's going to happen.
Guaranteed.
We're here with Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610, talking Texans NFL Draft.
Hey, Landry, this is Marcos here. Just wanted to get your framework and my thought process of this draft season. I mean, obviously, I was super high on Bryce early on in the offseason. I know a lot of Texans fans were, but like James said, it seems like that's not in the realm of possibility anymore. And I know we need a quarterback, but there are just so many other holes that this team needs to fill. How would you feel if the team passes on a quarterback this draft?
I would feel okay with it, actually. D'Amico didn't create the problem. Caserio created the problem because he didn't trade Brandon Cooks when he should have, and he didn't sit him out the final week of the season. That's not hindsight. That's what we were saying on the air the whole time. So if D'Amico doesn't want to draft a quarterback, like San Francisco didn't draft a quarterback in 2017, now it ended up being Mahomes and Watson going 10, and they passed on them at 2, which ended up being a mistake, but everyone made the mistake. I would have no problem with it because 2021, they kind of tried to force the issue with Lance. You got 2 firsts next year. It's not exciting. It's not fun. But my whole thing with this whole quarterback thing, and I got into it with John McClain about this because he put out a column saying that they need to take a quarterback. I can't get down with a quarterback. You like if you like Will Levis or you like C.J. Stroud or you like whoever, like if you like Richardson. Cool, but just draft a quarterback. I'm not dying to just draft a quarterback just to draft a quarterback, especially with the guys that are coming out next year. and with all the holes as you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm kind of following some of the same thought process that some of the other guys on Texans Twitter are having of, if you don't think that, if the front office doesn't believe that they have their guy at 2, that if they don't believe that they have their franchise quarterback at 2, why would they reach whenever you could have a perennial pass rusher such as Will Anderson on the board, and you could add to an edge position that is severely lacking for the Texans.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it, everybody liked to talk about Brock Purdy last year in San Francisco, and that's cool. He went 5-0, and, the 49ers went to the NFC Championship game. But, I mean, the reason that they went there was because they traded for Christian McCaffrey. Like, they lost one game without Christian McCaffrey, and they also had Nick Bosa on the other side. So, I mean, I could even see a scenario where I think the easiest sales pitch would be if Bijan Robinson's at 12. I know you already have Dameon Pierce, but if you come out of there with Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson, they might like Tyree Wilson more too. That's another issue on itself. But if you come out with your pass rusher and arguably the best player in the draft, then I think you can kind of sell that a little bit. You can make your quarterback better, and then who knows what happens? Maybe they make a trade and they kick the tires on Trey Lance or something like that. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if you can get an elite pass rusher, if you think that Will Anderson is that caliber of guy, go ahead and do it. Don't try to force the issue with the quarterback because D'Amico's D'Amico's in no hurry, and I think people trust D'Amico Ryan. So if he can sell the vision, I think it can be bought.
We're here with Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610, host of In the Loop, Monday through Friday up there in Houston. Now, y'all guys, of course, talking about the quarterback situation. Why would you shy away from C.J. Stroud at number 2? Is there just a general belief that he is not that type of guy?
I don't know what why they would. I mean, we know what the questions with CJ have been, and I don't think they're always fair. That he had an array of talent around him, and that system at Ohio State is such to where you don't really have to read the defense as much. And I don't always subscribe to that because Joe Burrow had some studs around him at LSU too. But I think it's just a combination of that. I think it's a combination of all these tests that everyone keeps talking about, which I'll be honest, I didn't know what the hell that test was until 2 months ago. It's kind of, because it seems like a lot of people have become experts on that test, and all of a sudden, talk about it. I don't know a damn thing about it. I'm not going to pretend that I know. I had no idea. I heard the Wonderlic test and all that, but I'd never heard of the other.
Are you talking about all these new things that are coming out, like the RAS scores and all these different little metrics? Now, to me, the draft industrial complex has just gotten I don't know. I'm not saying it's jumped the shark, but there's just so much out there to try and filter through that I think sometimes we kind of forget, hey, can the guy produce on the field? What does the film show? And then that's another thing, Locker. Whenever you have guys that, quote unquote, I watch the film guys, that's another thing that bothers me about draft Twitter. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because those guys don't want. I don't think they understand how much goes into that.
Exactly.
I'm not a watch the film guy. I've set in a couple times and it's literally 5 minutes each play. So it's not, it's not put on the YouTube highlights and I see C.J. Stroud do this against Georgia. So yeah, I'm with you. We just it's cabin fever. We're dying for the draft. We're ready for it. There's a lot of dialogue and stuff. As far as why C.J. goes down, I don't know. It does seem to be somewhat of a thing though. I would be surprised if C.J. were the pick.
Yeah. Hey, Landry. Recently, there's been obviously throughout the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of rumors coming out that the Texans might not take a quarterback, that they don't like XYZ quarterback, but Caserio coming from New England, who are notoriously tight-lipped, and Caserio himself, who doesn't give out a lot of information. Do you think that that's just a lot of smoke and mirrors?
Yeah, it is weird how there's been more leaks lately with the Texans than there have been in a while. So I don't know because I don't know D'Amico. I don't know what D'Amico does. I did go back and pull the clip of 2021 after the draft where Kyle Shanahan was basically having fun with all the speculation about Mac Jones and all that type of stuff, and he was basically calling out, media, coaches, and stuff like that. And I wonder, if D'Amico comes from that school and he's kind of just laughing behind the scenes the same way. So I don't know. I don't know if D'Amico knows what he's doing. I don't know if that's where the noise is coming from, but we just don't know how D'Amico rolls yet.
We're here with Landry Locker of Sportsradio 610 Houston. Landry, you guys, of course, you're the flagship station up there in Houston. Y'all guys cover the Texans extensively. What is your ideal number 2 and number 12 picks in Landry Locker's perfect scenario for the Texans? They walk away Thursday night with who at number 2 and number 12?
Mine would be trade back and get 3 ones next year with, someone in that 6-8 range, like if Atlanta likes C.J. Stroud or if the Raiders who believe they like C.J. Stroud, and then you come away with Tyree Wilson and either Jackson Smith and Jigba or Bijan Robinson. That would be my perfect first 2.
Nice.
Now, would you be opposed to maybe trading back to that same area that you said, who a couple of teams are rumored to be taking Jalen Carter, and a lot of people before the combine and everything like that were saying Jalen Carter is the best player in this draft, period, point blank. Taking Jalen Carter and then maybe a Nolan Smith or best edge available at 12 and really bolstering up a defensive line that was the worst in run defense in the entire NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I would be okay with that. It's just the offense, the receivers. Maybe you can get some guys in the second. It's just they really, like, if they can get their best receiver in that range, I think they need to do it, because I thought they might have liked Jamison Williams last year. He just went before him, so they definitely need some speed and some playmaking at wide receiver. But the one, I guess it's a good bad thing, is that they need everything, so they really can't go wrong with anything they do.
Yeah, they need a little bit of help up there. Do those Texans. Let's switch gears. Let's talk just a little bit of Astros. We only have a couple more minutes with you, Landry. We're with Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610. Astros, of course, got a big win last night in Atlanta. They've won 3 in a row. They've won 4 out of 5. It does seem like this team is starting to pick up a little bit of steam. Were you one of these guys that, are you one of these guys that's, hey, it's still early type of fan or type of person, or were you always anticipating that this team was going to end up coming out of this funk?
To be honest, I at the start of the season, I had them at 90 wins, so I didn't really have too high expectations, just because I don't think they had the depth. I think once they get in the playoffs, they can flip the switch, but they got guys doing stuff that they've never done. I never thought that they were going to be. I was never panicking. But I did feel like the other night felt like more than just one of 162, where you had Abreu come in with the bases loaded, get out the heart of the Toronto order without allowing a run. You had Garcia. You needed a good start from Garcia because he's been struggling so much. So I do get a kick out of baseball guy that's always like, it's early, it's 1 of 162. It's like, okay, I get it, but I mean, what are we even talking about it for? I did think that win felt like more than, just one win. So it did seem like something that we could look back on and say, all right, that was where they turned it around, because you're either falling 3 games below 500, Garcia's continuing to struggle, or you get out of that disaster, and that they haven't lost since. So I did feel like that was the game that we'll look back to and say that was monumental W for the first 20% of the season, whatever.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Adin, you got something?
Yes, I want to talk about as far as looking long term whenever Brantley and Altuve come back. What's the role for Mauricio Dubon going to be like? Let's say he continues his really superb hitting. He continues batting 300 or whatnot. Is he gonna take that center field spot, or is he gonna be back into a utility role that he was supposed to be?
Man, that's a good question. Because I was saying a week ago, in a strange way, it's almost I don't want to say discouraging, but it's kind of sucked when they were playing so bad that Dubon was doing so good, because Altuve is going to come back. So it's not like they're struggling at second base, and once Altuve comes back, you're gonna, it's a switch flip. I would think he would be a utility guy where they use him as much as they can, but I just don't do you play him in center field every day? I don't know if that's ideal for him. They'll find ways, but then you're taking a guy out of the lineup. I think he's striking out 4% of the time or something like that, which is godly. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with him, but yeah, I'm with you. I never thought we'd be having this conversation, but I mean, he's been a pleasant surprise. I did not think it was not on my. I did not bet, that we'd be saying, "What the heck are they going to do to keep Yvonne in the lineup at this time?" That's where we're at.
Yeah, you're right about that, Landry. We're here with Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610. Jose Abreu, have you been satisfied with his performance so far? There are a lot of people who are kind of questioning him, the signing of him, his age, and just his early season numbers. He's kind of struggled just a tad bit with the Astros.
Yeah, he has no power, and I mean, he hasn't had power going back to last year. If you just look at, the short time that Jeff Bagwell was, playing GM for the Astros, you can make a case that it was pretty disastrous. You gave Montero $11 million a year. You had the Abreu signing, and then you signed Brantley too, which hopefully that works out. We don't know what Brantley's going to look like, but look, I think Abreu is a good. I guess he's an upgrade for Yuli, but the power is not there, and I think it's very concerning because it's not just this season. You go back to last season. I think Chas McCormick had one fewer home run than him last year. So
wow,
the power. I think it's something like that. So it's not great. The power is not great.
Yeah, no disrespect to Chaz, but when you're signing a guy to a contract like that, you're expecting some power numbers, especially in Minute Maid Park. So, all right. Hey, Landry, we got to unfortunately let you go, my guy. We can do this all day, but time is running up on us on the segment. What do y'all guys got planned on draft night? Y'all having some round tables? What are y'all doing on Sports Radio 610?
We will be at the draft party. There's a draft party out here, and then
Nice.
I will be streaming on Locker Room on YouTube after the first round. So come through.
There we go. All righty. Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610, host of In the Loop in Houston, covering the Texans and everything Houston sports. Landry, we do appreciate your time this morning, my guy. We'll catch up later.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. There he goes. Landry Locker off the line. Good stuff right there. It's Astros talk. It is Texans talk. When we come back, we'll have a sports grab bag and kind of break down everything that just happened. Stick around. Welcome back, Sunday Sports Rush, episode number 114. James, Adin, and Marcos with you. We only have a few minutes left. Shout out to Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610 Houston, for breaking it down. Texans and Astros talk. Real interesting that Landry said that his optimal Texans scenario on Thursday night would be for the Texans to trade back and acquire another first-round pick for next year, which would give the Texans 3 first-round picks. Another interesting thought that he had was how he feels that the Texans shouldn't draft just a quarterback for the sake of having a quarterback. If the Texans don't feel strongly about who's there at number 2, don't be forced to pick a quarterback. I also thought that was an interesting note from Landry.
Real quick, I think if you trade back, you have to do it during the draft after the first pick, but you have to have a trade set up already. Like depending on who Carolina takes, you're talking to a team 6 through 8 or whatever, like he said. Depending on who Carolina takes, we'd be interested in doing a trade with y'all. And this is the trade. Let's kind of agree to terms. And then if Carolina, for whatever reason, doesn't pick Bryce Young, then you don't make that trade.
And like he said, the rumors of Will Levis, right? They're there, but he would not be excited about Will Levis at all. No. That would not move the needle for him, and I don't think it moves the needle for a majority of Texans fans, yourself included.
Yeah, and I think that it is important to note that Ian Rappaport has been very, very clear, and he's been repetitive in this, that he believes that the Texans are still going to take a quarterback at number 2, that he hasn't heard anything personally, that he's heard all the noise, but he has not heard anything from the Texans. And he said, I believe it was and I quote, I would be very surprised if the Texans don't take a quarterback at 2.
Interesting, man. So you got conflicting reports. It's truly the Texans are one of the most fascinating teams in this draft. And I have just found myself enamored with this franchise that just to be honest, I'm a Cowboys fan, right? I hardly ever paid attention to, but now this draft season has me paying attention to them a lot more.
Yeah, and Rappaport is given his history with reporting on the Texans, he's been more accurate than a lot of these people who are saying that the Texans are not taking a quarterback at 2. So we don't know what's going to happen. It's been like this for weeks where there's absolutely zero idea what the Texans are going to do or what really a lot of the teams are going to do at the top of the draft, because depending on what Carolina does, changes up what the Texans are going to do, and the Texans dictate a lot of people's draft boards behind them. Actually, most people's draft boards behind them.
What the Texans do at number 2 is going to set the tone for the rest of the draft.
Yes.
And the Texans could do something crazy that just throws the whole draft in flux. It's going to be interesting. Thursday night's going to be fun.
If I'm the Texans, just get a quarterback. Just either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. One of those two would be a good pick. I'm sorry, but a poor man's Nick Foles is not going to cut it. Sorry, Marco.
But
that's what Davis Mills is.
But next year, you could have the number 1 quarterback in Quinn Ewers or the number 2 in Caleb Williams.
Stop.
I'm just kidding.
And I think it's important to note that Davis has showed flashes of being a pretty good quarterback.
So does Nick Foles.
Yeah, but I agree that.
What's up with the Nick Foles hate? He led his team to a Super Bowl.
Look, I agree that. I
said poor man. Let's just go. Yeah.
I agree that Davis can be a nice quarterback. He can be a good quarterback. But I think eventually the Texans will have to answer that question of, is he franchise quarterback or should we draft one if they don't do it this year? And I think that's a fair take.
It is a fair take, but also like Landry alluded to a little bit earlier, there's so many holes that need to be filled. I don't hate the idea of giving Davis his 3rd year, which is like historically, at least recently, been the year that quarterbacks make the leap. So I'm not against giving Davis that 3rd year opportunity. Not that he's necessarily earned it, but a lot of quarterbacks haven't really earned that 3rd year. And we can fill up a lot of holes for potentially our franchise quarterback next year.
Just some fascinating Texans talk here. We have about a minute left. Good stuff, Marcos. Good stuff from everybody out there. Ryan's in here on the text line. I want to get him in because he shouted us out. Ryan says, after you informed me that Spencer Rattler still has 1 more year at South Carolina, I'm going to make a bold prediction that South Carolina wins the SEC East this season.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a team.
Interesting.
In Athens, Georgia, that it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough hill to climb. And then Raul's in here. Raul says that Daniel Jones over Dak Prescott all the way. Daniel Jones has more precision in throw and better legs. Wow, that's a hot take from Raul.
I am not a Dak apologist by any means, but I'm not even going to go that far.
So, Raul, thank you for getting in. Thank you to everybody getting in. Shout out once again to Landry Locker for jumping on with us from Sports Radio 610. Guys,
we survived.
We're going to be here for a while. Everybody stay safe out there. Avoid the roads. Pull over if you're driving right now. It's dangerous out there.
We made it on air, at least.
We did make it the whole show without going off air, which is awesome. Marcos, fantastic job, man. Thank you so much for being here again.
Appreciate it, James.
Adin, great work.
Yeah, NFL Draft Post show.
It's coming up next week. We'll be breaking down the whole draft, and that will be fun. All right, for everybody here in the studio, for Adin, for Marcos, I am James Espinosa. Shout out to everybody who got in on the text line. We love you guys so much. No more questions. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next week.